Pierre Poilievre, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
I want to start with that discussion of hope versus fear as a voting motivation, and that really interesting poll that showed that most of the people voting from a place of hope were voting Conservative as opposed to those voting Liberal because they're really afraid of what the future holds. The fears, especially for older people, are the fears that have always been there, and they're afraid that they will outlive their money and their good health, and they're afraid for their families, that their families will not be able to succeed. And I think this fear makes people think that the banker with the fancy international resume is a safer bet. So what do you tell them?
Well, I find it ironic that the crises that are afflicting people's daily lives and causing them to feel fearful today were actually caused by Liberal government policies. I mean, it was Liberal government money printing that caused the inflation that undermined your ability to pay for your bills and live off your pension. It was Liberal out-of-control taxes that drove up the bills for your household. It was Liberal catch-and-release crime laws that caused you to feel afraid in your community. It's out-of-control Liberal immigration policies that have priced your kids out of homes. It's Liberal economic policies that have made us hopelessly dependent on the Americans, and apparently now to our detriment. And now the Liberals have the audacity to step up and say, well, now that you're afraid because of all the crises they've caused, you should vote Liberal. It is just an incredible irony that it's like a firefighter, it's like a pyromaniac claiming to become a firefighter. And let's be clear, Mark Carney was part of the entire policy agenda of the Trudeau government, and he's actually proposing to change nothing. I mean, he's released his platform now, $130 billion of new spending, above and beyond what Trudeau promised. He wants to continue with out-of-control immigration through the Century Initiative. He wants to continue with catch-and-release criminal justice. He wants to block our resources. Doesn't include the word pipeline in his platform once. Wants to keep half our oil in the ground, so we're dependent on the Americans for our energy future. If you're afraid, you have a lot to be afraid of in voting Liberal, because they will weaken our country and make us more vulnerable to the already existing crises that they caused.
What you're telling me is kind of rational arguments. My take on it is that it's somehow this visceral thing for older people who just think that guy is a safer bet because he's got this resume. So how do you address that?
Well, he's someone who takes credit for things he didn't do, and takes and refuses to take responsibility for the things he actually did. I mean, if you want to go through his resume, he, as bank governor in England, he caused the inflation crisis. Their inflation was the highest in the G7 right after he left. He caused the housing crisis. He came to Canada, back to Canada for about 5 years ago, and became Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. Advised him to print money, advised him to raise carbon taxes, advised him against building pipelines. All of the things that have got us into this mess in the first place. So, it's one thing to have a lot of fancy titles, but I'm interested I didn't get into politics to be something, I got into politics to do something. What did he do? He made everything worse, and his policy agenda today will make it worse still if you actually look at what he's proposing. On my end, what I've been fighting for my entire political career is exactly what everyone now agrees we need. We need to cap the spending, cut the waste, bring down the tax burden. We need to unlock our resources and get them overseas so we don't depend on the Americans. We need to lock up the criminals and secure our borders. Those are the things I've been talking about for 20 years in politics. So if you're looking for a lower risk option, vote for the guy who's been saying the same thing all along and who will actually deliver on those things, rather than going for the reckless Liberal Party that has been in power for 10 years and now has the same Liberal MPs, Liberal ministers, Liberal strategists, and they will have exactly the same disastrous and dangerous Liberal results.
The knock on you from a lot of people is that you've been in politics your entire career. How do you deal with that?
Well, if you want a surgeon, you don't say, well, he hasn't been a car salesman, so how can he be a surgeon? You pick someone who's been doing the job. And my experience is in doing the very things we now need done. You know, when I was a minister of one of the biggest departments in the Harper government, when I was Minister of Housing, you could buy a house for $450,000 on average. You know, I helped bring down the tax burden with Prime Minister Harper, helped pass anti-corruption laws. I was the first parliamentarian to predict the inflation and housing crises and to offer the solutions we all now know need done. So I have my experience is doing exactly the things that need to be done, that's what I offer people. People know what they're going to get, and if they vote for the Liberals, they will get what they had of the last 10 years.
Can you just go over the offerings you have for seniors in terms of the plans?
Yes. Well, look, the main offering, I would say, is that we need my life to be affordable and safe again. On affordability, we are going to cut income taxes by 15% for the average pensioner. So save a couple of pensioners up to $2,000. We'll let seniors who choose to work earn $34,000 tax-free, so that we reward working seniors rather than punishing them with clawbacks and taxes. We will let you put another $5,000 a year into your TFSAs as long as it's invested in Canada. There will be zero capital gains tax if you reinvest your proceeds in the Canadian economy. And we will protect you, make you safe again. We're going to crack down on scam artists that go after seniors with tougher laws and requiring banks intercept these scams. We're going to lock up repeat violent criminals for life. And we're going to stop the drugs that are provoking the crime by shutting down these drug dens and investing in treatment. So what seniors will enjoy, if they vote for change in this election, is a safe, tranquil, affordable country where they can watch their children and grandchildren grow up and have the same opportunities that they had.
In terms of making people feel safe, you have an agenda for crime. One of the excuses I hear all the time is that we can't put people in jail, we don't have room in jails.
Okay, so this is the good news. We don't have a lot of criminals in Canada. The bad news is they're extremely productive. So what we have is a tiny group of offenders that reoffend and reoffend and reoffend. We have to reserve them a room in the prison already. The difference is that we let them out over and over and over again. So they go out, they reoffend. They come in, they stay for a day, they go out, they reoffend. What I'm saying is just leave them there. Keep them in jail. Don't let them out through the revolving door. Turn the revolving door into an iron gate that doesn't open for anyone who's committed more than 3 offenses. And when we did this in the Harper era, we not only cut crime by 25%, the incarceration went down. There were fewer people in jail when we passed tougher laws. Well, why is that? Well, because we concentrated on the tiny group that is in and out reoffending anyway. And the small-time criminals were frightened to death of getting caught because they knew there would be serious penalties. So we're not going to have to build new jails. What we're going to do is keep the rampant offender behind bars so he never goes in and out and never terrorizes your community, never robs your house or steals your car again.
You get a lot of credit in the Jewish community as being the only leader of a major party who has really addressed the horrific rise in anti-Semitism, hate crimes against Jews. What I'd like to know in a practical way, how you plan to address that. My experience, I ask the police, people are openly breaking the law, why do you not arrest and charge them? They say, well, the politicians, especially local politicians, don't have our backs. Then they say that there's a problem, the Crowns won't charge because the laws won't let them prove their case. So practically, how do you address that?
Well, I'll tell you one thing we're going to do is bring in massive, crippling penalties for vandalism that will be 10 times the size of the property damage. So these people go out, the thugs go out and smash windows and throw Molotov cocktails. They will know that they will be charged, and not only will they serve jail time, but they're going to pay 10 times the value of the damage they cause. A huge financial disincentive. By the way, I'm going to bring in an extra penalty for wearing a mask in the commission of a crime. So someone goes out and commits that's what they do. They're cowards. So they mask themselves. They're going to pay an extra criminal penalty for that. We're going to make clear to the Director of Public Prosecutions that these offenses are to be prosecuted, and that such a memo should be sent down to the provincial crowns as well. And we're going to deport people who are here on visitor visas who carry out anti-Semitic violence in our country. They will have there will be a zero tolerance. They will be out of the country. So I think when you find that there are serious penalties in place for this appalling conduct, criminal conduct, these people will stop doing what they're doing because they're cowards. The only reason they're doing it now is because there are absolutely no consequences.
I want to end with a personal question, and I have to tell you one thing that really struck me in the debate. So at the end of the debate, when you were asked if you had regrets, you got emotional. It looked like you were tearing up, which I don't find particularly strange, but the reaction was, oh my God, he got emotional and it looked sincere. And then a bunch of other pundits came in, well, the others, they were sincere as well. I mean, what do you make of that reaction?
Well, I'm sure the other guys were sincere. I don't have any reason to doubt that. I've been traveling the country for so long now. I kicked off my leadership race in February of, what was it, February? 22. So that means it's been 3 years and 2 months. She's got a better memory than I do. And my policy had been that at every rally, I would park myself in front of a flag. We'd have a photo line, and I'd sometimes stay there for 4 hours. And I shake hands with every single person who wants to meet me. And then they just tell stories. They tell me about their struggles and their hopes and their things that excite them and what they want for their lives. And I always feel very in awe that people's lives, the trajectory of their lives depends on what I do. I don't take that for granted. And I start to feel a sense of real solidarity with people and a feeling that they're with me in this and I'm with them. And so when the campaign started, the team said, look, there's just no logistical way you can stand for 4 hours. You've got to be, you be in Vancouver one night, you have to be up at 7 a.m. in Toronto the next morning. So there's just no way that you can do this anymore. And I've missed that feeling. I miss when I walk out of the rallies and I can't stop and talk to people. It doesn't, I feel like I'm missing something. And so that came out of me, and I didn't know that question was coming. In fact, I hadn't even planned to answer that way. But then Carney and Singh had mentioned that they too missed talking with people because of the speed of the pace of life, and it triggered that in me, and so that's where it came from.
My point was that people reacted to you getting emotional like it was the strangest thing they'd ever seen.
Well, I think some people just assume that I'm an aggressive fighter. I believe in what I stand for. They don't know why I'm fighting for what I'm fighting for. They often say they just assume that it's just because I want to fight, but there's something I'm fighting for, and so I'm in this for a reason, I want people to have what I had in this country. This country's been extremely good to me. To start where I started and get where I've got, that would not be possible in most countries. Most places, if you're born here, you stay here. If you're born here, you stay there. And in Canada, you can be born here and you can rise, you can climb up if you work hard. And that's what I hear from people. They say, geez, I don't want you to give me any freebies in life. I just want to fight my own battles, and I want to feel like you're by my side, not in my way. And that's what I'm fighting for. And, when I meet people who are suffering, and I know that there are politicians who made decisions that caused that suffering, and that those politicians pay no price for what they do, that frustrates me. And I'm in politics to remove those roadblocks. And it's what gives me hope.
Pierre Poilievre, thank you so much.
Thank
Great
you.
talking to you. Really appreciate your time.
It's been a privilege.
And Anna, your wife, as well.
Yes.
A big asset, according to everyone.
She's fantastic. I'm very blessed to have her on this journey. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.